Hey y'all, welcome to Engaged Voters, the podcast. And as y'all can see today, it's only me because we are in the middle of early voting. So happy early voting to you all. I've seen a lot of people have already went to vote since Monday, and we love to see it. Engaged Voters will be voting this Sunday. We'll be partnering with Third Ward Bike Tours to bike to the polls as we typically do, and we'll be at Texas Southern. But it's only me today because I felt that it was very important for us to go ahead and break down what's really on the ballot. There is so much more than the president and the vice president that will be on the ballot. And we in Harris County, we have literally like one of the longest ballots in the country. And so I just want to make sure that you all have the info that you need before you go vote. So if you already voted, sorry, we're a little bit late, but I've been doing this throughout the election. Just wanted to dedicate an episode directly to this. So let's go ahead and get started. First, this is a general/presidential election. It occurs every 4 years. In Texas, we will also have an election for the U.S. House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate, the Texas State Senate, the Texas House, and various local elections. There may be a runoff election because it's so many races. It's kind of typical when it's a ballot like this long that it might be a runoff race, and that'll probably be sometime in December, so we'll need y'all to come back out and vote again. Alrighty, so what's on the ballot? I'm going to start with some propositions. I always laugh because these are the words that's on the ballot that everybody's like, what is this saying? I tell people, look, I have a law degree, right? And I still look at some of that and I'm like, why did they not write this in English? So it will be 3 propositions on your ballot. This is specifically for Harris County. So for all my listeners who tune in from different counties in Texas or different states, it's not for you, but send it to your people who do live here. So it's 3 different propositions. One, there's one for the HISD, the Houston Independent School District. Yes, the state still has control over the school district, over HISD, but yes, they can still put propositions. There are 2. You're going to see Proposition A and Proposition B. Proposition A is about a little less than $3.9 billion to enhance the schools in the district. And then Proposition B is about $440 million, and that is to enhance the technology in the school district. Voters have the right to say yes or no to these propositions. Now, listen, I'm not here to tell you to vote yes or no. That's up to y'all. However, I want y'all to understand what you're reading when you actually see it on the ballot. So, for instance, so I'll say, for that 4.4, it's a total of $4.4 billion, be with the boy. So a lot of people have been like, what? It will ask you to approve $3.96 billion in bonds. I want y'all to know that bonds are kind of like credit cards. You do have to pay them back. And it's going to address infrastructure needs. So, you know, the buildings, the structures, and all of that. And then Proposition B is $440 million, and that's the fund's technology improvements. Now, look, I have to tell people, if you think that $3.96 billion is too much, you can't go in there and say, well, I think we only need to vote for $2 billion. It's either yes or no. Same for that $440 million. It's either yes or no. It's not, oh, I'm going to vote and change the numbers and things like that. It's either yes or no. So that's the first proposition. The second one is, well, that's the first 2. The second one is also going to say Proposition A, but it is for the Harris County Flood Control District. So the Harris County Flood Control is proposing a higher tax rate. Basically, the way that the county works is they give taxpayers dollars. That's why we always say like taxpayers dollars. And our taxpayers dollars go to maintaining our roads and our streets and things. So if it floods, then it either doesn't flood a lot or that it doesn't flood at all. Well, they need money to do all of this, right? And so what does that mean? That means we have to increase our taxes. However, I want to put it into perspective because everybody's like, I'm not trying to increase taxes because we already pay enough taxes. It's an increase of 1.581 cents per $100. So there's a 1.58, like $1.50, which will total to about, based on what it currently is, you'll be paying 4.897 per $100. So a little bit under $5 per $100 for your taxes. What does this mean? I know, because y'all like, okay, this is a lot. Basically, the average homeowner, because it's property taxes, so if you don't own a home, technically this don't even apply to you. But the average homeowner will see an increase of approximately $60 per year. That's based on the average of approximately $400,000 of your property home value. So if your home is valued at less than $400,000, you'll pay a little bit less than $60 a year. If your home is more than $400,000, you'll pay more than $60 per year. But this is, again, they're asking the voters, do y'all approve an increase by $1.50 so that we can use this money to maintain the roads and the streets and to either prevent or deal with any flooding. Everybody knows in Houston, when it rains, it floods. So just want to let y'all know, you're going to see Proposition A and B for HISD. You're going to see Proposition A for the Harris County Flood Control Tax Rate. Okay. So what's on the ballot? Now, I have my phone here because we use our phones. If y'all follow Engaged Voters on Instagram, it's literally at Engaged Voters with an S at the end. The very first post on our page, it is pinned on our page, is a list of all the positions that's on the ballot. We did this intentionally because everybody's been talking about the president and the vice president. And I'm like, gee, it's so much more on the ballot. Like, I really need y'all to know this. So we've posted this. This has been on our page for over a month. It says October 11. We really took it down and reposted it again so it could be at the top of people's pages. So we really had this up for almost 2 months now to let people know it is so much more on the ballot. I'm going to read it out to y'all so y'all can know. Federal positions in Harris County, again, this is Harris County. You're going to see the president and vice president, one U.S. Senator of Texas. We have 2 senators. Only one is on the ballot. This is the U.S. Senator, not the state senator. And all the U.S. representatives. You only see one because only one represents you per district. But no matter where you are in the state of Texas, your U.S. representative will be on your ballot. That's federal. So I'll say that president, vice president, senator, and your U.S. representative. That's the federal positions. Then you have your statewide positions. You have one Texas Railroad Commissioner. It's 3 of them. Only one will be on the ballot. We'll get into that. 3 Texas Supreme Court judges. It's 9 of them. Only 3 of them are on the ballot. 3 Texas Court of Criminal Appeals judges. This is the highest court in the land for criminal cases, or the highest court in the state for criminal cases. 3 of them will be on the ballot out of 9. There's 8 Texas State Board of Education members. Out of 15, 8 of them will be on the ballot. There's 15 Texas state senators. You will only see one because only one senator represents you depending on where you live. But throughout the state, it's a total of 15 of them that's on the ballot. All Texas state reps. So whoever is your Texas state rep or whoever is running to be your Texas state rep, no matter where you live, they will be on your ballot. It will only be one person. 10 Court of Appeals judges. This is for the 1st and 14th District Court of Appeals. 27 district judges. That's a total of 27 for civil, criminal, and family all added together. That's just state. Countywide positions, because we also have that. The county attorney is on the ballot, the district attorney, the county sheriff, the tax assessor collector, 2 county commissioners. You'll only see one because only one represents you depending on where you live. 8 justices of the peace, 8 county constables. You'll only see 1 justice of the peace and 1 county constable. Again, it's based on where you live. 3 county Department of Education members, 3 county appraisal district directors, 1 county criminal court at law, and 1 county probate court. Plus those 3 propositions. So it's going to take you a little minute when you go vote, okay? The lines may be short, but prepare yourself to go in and say, I'm going to have to do a lot of clicking. But I really want people to know that so you can literally go to our Instagram page and pull up this document. Unfortunately, you cannot take your phone into the voting booth with you, but we do have printed copies. So if y'all see us around, we do have printed copies of this. And we have a page of definitions, which I'm about to get into those. So the very next post at the top of our page is literally a 1-pager of all the definitions. It's real small font because we tried to squeeze all of it into one page, but it gives you a one-liner of what all these these people do. So when you vote, you're not voting just for the person, you're voting for like what power and authority do they have when they get into office. Okay. So let's get into it. President of the United States, what does the president do? I always ask people, if you were voted president today, what would be the first thing you would do if you were in office? I always chuckle, haha, because people say the most, I won't say crazy, they actually say valid things, but they say things that the president literally has no control over. So it's like you're going into an election, you're voting for the president to like do something that they never had any authority to do, and then you get mad and like, ain't nothing changed, the president didn't fix this, and I'm like, the president never could. So do we really know what the president of the United States can do? One, they enforce all the laws passed by Congress, they sign the laws or they say no. They appoint leaders for important government departments. So this is key. So the Department of Education, Secretary of Housing, Law Enforcement, well, District, DOJ, Attorney General, all these things. They are appointed by the president. So the president may not deal with your day-to-day operations, but they do appoint people who are over these federal agencies, and they direct them on what to focus on. So if we say like student loans, that's coming from the Department of Education, right? And so the president appointed whoever is over the Department of Education and told them, y'all need to focus on student loans. So that's a lot of power to appoint the people who actually control these federal agencies. They also had the power to appoint lifetime federal judges and Supreme Court justices. Let's talk about the federal judges real quick. Now, listen, we are bipartisan, okay? But I say this to really give y'all a context of like what's going on. Well, I'll say it this way because I don't need y'all coming for me. If you win a case, say for instance, you lose a case at the trial level. You're like, you know what? I want to appeal this. I want to take it to a federal court, a federal appeals court. The federal appeals court decides that case. It's supposed to decide based on the Constitution. All judges are held by the Constitution and the law and, you know, what they're supposed to do. These federal judges are appointed by the President of the United States. So typically, they're going to interpret the Constitution in a way that aligns with their morals and values. And that's typically going to align with whatever president likely appointed you to that position. I know this sounds crazy because you're like, what? They're not supposed to be biased. They're not. But as y'all know, in 2024, some people read the Constitution one way and some people read it a different way. And so depending on who appointed you, that judge is probably viewing it in a certain light or a certain way. And that's why cases are being decided the way they are. These are lifetime positions. They can die in the seat if they want to. However, some of them do retire. There are still judges in office that was appointed by former President Donald Trump. There are still judges in office that were appointed by former President Barack Obama. Like, these are lifetime appointments. And this is what the president does. They all have to be approved by the Senate. Same with the Supreme Court. As y'all know, the Supreme Court been dropping a lot of stuff. A lot of decisions that we like, this crazy. Like, affirmative action is really rolled back. A lot of people are, up in arms. They're like, they really overturned Roe versus Wade. Like, these are decisions coming directly from the Supreme Court. Newsflash, the President of the United States appoints people to the Supreme Court. These are lifetime positions as well. There's a lot of talk that there may be an upcoming vacancy in the next 4 years. So whoever the next president is, they may have the opportunities to appoint somebody. When I say a vacancy, somebody may retire. I'm not going to say they're going to die, but somebody may retire because they do have the option to do that. And it's like, oh, now the president gets to decide who they want to appoint to the Supreme Court. The president is one president elected every 4 years. I know that was a lot, but I really had to break that down because the president has been in a lot of conversations. And I'm like, y'all do know what they can or cannot do. Vice president. Now listen, I'm a black woman and the current vice president is a black woman. Not saying I'm choosing sides or anything, but this black woman been questioning a lot. They like, well, where has this vice president been? I always ask y'all, can y'all tell me the name of our former president's vice president? Typically, there are crickets because people can't even remember his name. It was Mike Pence, by the way. Or can y'all tell me what current President Joe Biden did while he was vice president? Again, it's typically crickets because people don't even remember what he did when he was vice president. But yet we have all these questions for this black woman in office, like where is she as vice president? Vice presidents, let me tell you what the Constitution say they have to do. Step in when the president is unavailable or unable. Literally, it's a very, very one to two liners of what the vice president is authorized or mandated to do, shall I say. They can do things beyond that purview, but if you really look at what they have to do, it's not much. They are the president of the Senate. So if there is something that goes down, if there's a vote in the Senate and it's a tie, the vice president can come in and vote and break that tie. And they are supposed to be available or when the president is unable or unavailable to do so. That's it. So all of this, I'm like, just pay attention. Now, can they create their own initiatives and things like that? Absolutely. And they have done that. And even our current vice president has done that. But a lot of times we just don't know. U.S. senators and representatives. This is Congress. Congress is the one who writes the bills and votes for the bills. I always bring up stimulus check because I'm like, the stimulus checks, I did get the stimulus checks, all of them. However, I want people to know our former president absolutely put his signature on those checks. Absolutely. However, the former president did not actually write the bill to give us those checks. It was Congress. And little do people know, it was a whole big thing. Some Congress members was like, first of all, they don't need to get $1,200. They thought that was too much. Some of them was like, they actually need to get more. Like, it was just a whole back and forth. They had to go back and forth until they agreed upon that. And that wasn't the only thing in that bill. In that bill, it was money to go to the states, to the counties, to the cities. It was money to go to the individuals. It was money to go to the businesses. And the president of the United States did not write any of that. It was Congress. Congress, the U.S. reps and the U.S. senators, they write the bills and they vote on the bills. And then it goes to the president's desk for the president to sign or veto it. Each state has two senators. The state of Texas has one senator that is on the ballot. We have two, John Cornyn and Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is currently on the ballot. His opponent is Colin Allred. And then they serve for 6-year terms. The number of representatives that each state has depends on the state's population. So, of course, Texas is a big state. We got a lot of reps, but it's only one that represents you in your district. And they are elected every 2 years. I like to talk about former Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's seat. Everybody thought that term was like way longer than 2 years. I'm like, no, she just kept winning every single year. It's actually only for 2 years. I will say there is two races on the ballot for her seat. One is for someone to finish out her term because right now her seat is vacant. And so the first race on the ballot is going to be someone to finish out her term basically from election day until December 31st or January 1st. The second race is for somebody to fill the seat for the next 2 years. So again, not telling you who to vote for or whatnot, but just know if you live in District 18, then you will see two races on your ballot for former Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's seat. That was just the federal positions. Let's get into these state positions. I'm going to go a little fast because, we got a lot to get through. So the first thing that I said was the Texas Railroad Commissioner. Fun fact, has nothing to do with railroads. The Railroad Commission is a department that regulates the oil and gas industry in the state. And y'all know we are like the oil hub, the oil and gas hub. There are 3 commissioners who are elected to 6-year terms. 1 commissioner seat is on the ballot. I don't know exactly what they do on a day-to-day basis, but I know they control the oil and gas in this state or regulates the oil and gas industry in this state. And this is a big thing right now because, we're trying to be more energy conservative. We have oil companies here. We have Shell. We have Exxon. We have these companies here, and they're trying to figure out, what makes the most sense for our state and for our environment. 3 Texas Supreme Court justices. So I talked about the U.S. Supreme Court. And now we're talking about the Texas Supreme Court. This is the highest court in Texas. And so the U.S. Supreme Court is appointed by the President of the United States. The Texas Supreme Court is elected. This is the highest court for civil cases in the state. They can answer questions about state law from lower courts. They can issue orders, and they review cases about lawyer conduct. They serve 6-year terms, and y'all, they make about $185,000 a year. That's a lot of money, but they are elected, and we had the opportunity to elect 3 of them. I will say, just stating facts, all 9 members are currently members of the Republican Party. Hey, that's just a fact that everybody may want to know. We have elected these individuals to serve on our Texas Supreme Court. Now, if your case makes it to the Texas Supreme Court, can it still go to the U.S. Supreme Court? Absolutely. However, I want y'all to know the U.S. Supreme Court does not hear every case that comes across their desk. They usually like, no, we're just going to defer to whichever court made that decision unless it's like a brand new case or something like that. So that's the Supreme Court. Then we have the Court of Criminal Appeals. This is the highest court for criminal cases. So the Texas Supreme Court is the highest court for civil cases. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals is the highest court for criminal cases. And so, these cases about like death penalty, figuring out capital murder cases, things like that, you can take it all the way up to the highest court, which is the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. They handle applications for post-conviction relief in felony cases. They serve 6-year terms. And 3 of them are also on the ballot. And this court is also made up of, out of 9, all 9 are Republicans, are members of the Republican Party. 8 Texas State Board of Education members. What do? We're not talking about HISD. We're talking about Texas State. They are the ones who set the curriculum and choose textbooks for all Texas public schools. This is major, y'all, because there's been some conversations about banning books and what are our kids learning in the education system, in the public school education system. You know who decides what these textbooks are and whatnot, what the curriculum is? The Texas State Board of Education. And guess what? You don't have to have a degree or be a former teacher to be on the Texas State Board of Education. You probably should, but it's not a requirement. And these are elected positions, okay? So I wanted y'all to know that. The state senators and the state reps, just like Congress writes and votes on bills for the federal level, the state senators and the state representatives, they write and vote on bills for the state level. And so for our target audience, things that typically come up is like the legalization of marijuana. I'm like, hey, y'all know like over 20 states have legalized marijuana. And just a little, disclaimer, I've never smoked marijuana a day in my life. However, I do advocate for the legalization or at least a decriminalization because our community has absolutely been like over-criminalized for the use of marijuana. But anyways, people are like, okay, when is it going to be legalized? I'm like, over 20 states have legalized it. So what does that tell you? That means it's up to the people that we elect at the state level to get it legalized. So have you talked to your state rep? Have you talked to your state senator? Did they write a bill introducing the legalization of marijuana? Or did they vote yes or no if a bill was written that they didn't write? Like, these are the power positions that I want you all to understand. The state senator, they serve 4-year terms. They do not have a term limit. The state representatives, they serve 2-year terms, and there are no term limits. I want to do a pause here because guess how much the Texas state senators and the Texas state representatives make? That'll be $7,200 a year. Yes, I said $7,200 a year. Like, that's quite crazy, One argument is like, well, they're public servants. They shouldn't be paid that much. They don't meet every year. In Texas, our legislature meets every other year. The other is like, let's really put it into some perspective here. Who makes up our state senators and our state reps? Typically people who don't look like us. Why is that? Is because I can't leave my job to go make $7,200 a year to represent this state. Like, typically, like our average school teachers and things like that, who may be great and viable candidates to run our state legislator, they literally cannot leave their life, their jobs and stuff and their kids and whatnot to travel to Austin for a year, during session for a couple of months out the year to handle business for the state level. So there's been some advocacy around increasing their salary. They have not been successful at this point. Now you're thinking like, oh, well, I live in Houston, Austin, right up the street. You also have to think of all the other cities in the state of Texas who have to travel to Austin. People coming from like El Paso and whatnot. They do give them like stipends, travel stipends or whatnot, but I think it's $150, and I don't know how frequently that they receive it. So I just wanted to let y'all know that. We also have 10 Court of Appeals judges on the ballot. They have intermediate appellate jurisdiction, meaning like mid-level jurisdiction to hear civil and criminal cases. So basically, the Court of Appeals judges hear cases from the district and the county courts. So if you want to appeal a case from the county court, you'll take it up to the Court of Appeals. They command lower courts to do their jobs. They may forbid somebody from doing something, stop somebody or something from happening. They serve a 6-year term. One family district. Okay, so remember how I said it's 27 district judges. That is 27 total out of family, civil, and criminal district judges. So there's one family district judge that's on the ballot. Family district judges, they specialize in cases involving families and children. So they handle divorce, child custody, child support, visitation rights, protective orders, things like that. These are elected judges. So if you feel like these judges are not making the most effective or beneficial decisions for you or a group of people or whatnot, hey, take it to the ballot. They are elected and they serve 4-year terms. There's one family district judge that will be on the ballot. 14 civil district judges. They hear civil matters involving $200 or more. This could also include divorce cases. It can include property disputes. It can also include election contest cases. That's a big topic right now because recently, after every election, there's like, oh, there was some fraud happening, or it depends. If one party feels like that the election was not determined in the way that they feel that it should have been determined or, decided or whatnot, then they can file suit and say, like, I want to contest this election. And so civil district judges are the ones, and we elect them, are the ones who will hear these cases. They also hear like contract disputes, personal injury matters, wrongful death cases, medical malpractice, all of these. They serve a 4-year term. Now, the criminal district judges, they specialize exclusively in criminal cases. They focus on the more serious cases, particularly the complex and severe penalty cases, and they serve a 4-year term. Alrighty, y'all, we almost through, kind of, sort of, now the county. So I broke down the federal positions, I broke down the state positions, and now we're going to get to the county positions. Alrighty, county attorney. So basically, the county has to have a lawyer because the county can get sued. I always bring up like cases. If unfortunately we've had people die inside of the Harris County Jail, right? So if that family wants to sue the county for, negligence or something that happens to their loved one in the jail, they absolutely can sue the county. And guess what? The county is going to need a lawyer. And the county has one in-house. It's called our Harris County Attorney. And so they are the chief civil lawyer for the county. They represent the county government, the flood control district, the toll road authority, and the Greater Harris County 911 emergency network. Okay, y'all, we almost through. I went through the federal positions for you, and I went through the state, and so now we're going to talk about these county positions. The county attorney. Okay, so basically, the county has to have a lawyer because the county gets sued. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if somebody wants to file a lawsuit against Harris County for something, I always bring up somebody who may have. So we are over the Harris County is over the jail, right? So if somebody dies inside of the jail, which has happened, which is very unfortunate, then their family can absolutely file suit against the county. And what does that mean? The county is going to need a lawyer. And so what does that mean? They have a lawyer in-house. So typically the Harris County Attorney is the chief civil lawyer for the county. They represent the county government as a whole, the flood control district, the toll road authority, the Greater Harris County 911 emergency network, in all civil matters, including lawsuits. They also kind of provide legal counsel to county officials and employees, including members of Commissioner's Court. They serve a 4-year term. The county attorney is on the ballot. District attorney. So that was the civil side, the criminal side. The district attorney represents the county in prosecuting criminal cases. So when you always see like the state versus XXX, the state is literally like the government. They oversee the county's prosecutors, investigators, support personnel. They determine charges, they prosecute cases. I always give this example for district attorneys. So typically when someone is arrested, the law enforcement agency has to actually call the district attorney's office and say like, hey, this is what I have. Do we want to accept the charges or not? Meaning, do you want to, based on what I've said, should we accept this charge or should we say dismiss it and let them go ahead and go? And so this is the kind of power that a district attorney has, and the district attorney is on the ballot. Of course, the district attorney that is elected doesn't always represent people or the government in every single case, but they set the priorities and the goals of the office and they meet all the actual requirements for the office. So, district attorneys, they're the ones who propose settlement, or I guess the plea deals. They are the ones who, go to trial. Like this is the I'm trying to put into words like what the district attorney does on a broader level, and we elect these individuals. The county sheriff. The county sheriff is responsible for law enforcement at the county level. Listen, we have several law enforcement agencies in the state of Texas. Even in the city of Houston, you got HPD, you have the constables, you have the sheriffs, HIZ. The school districts have their own law enforcement. Like, it's just law enforcement everywhere you look up. Well, the county sheriff is only over the county law enforcement agencies, right? And they are elected. The chief of police, the city of Houston chief of police, is appointed by the mayor, but the Harris County sheriff is elected by the people. So they ensure compliance with all the laws. Their duties include managing deputies. So there's patrol deputies, and then there's detention deputies. So patrol deputies are the sheriffs who are typically out and about. The detention are those who work inside the jail. For those of us who live in Houston, you really won't see sheriffs that much because they focus on the outer skirts of the county, like the unincorporated areas. And typically, if you're inside the city, that's under the jurisdiction of the City of Houston Police. But they do manage the deputies. They oversee the county jail. They handle administrative tasks and things like that. They are elected and they serve 4-year terms. Tax assessor collector. This is always the office. I'm like, they do so much. Like, I don't know. They just threw all kind of like different responsibilities under the tax assessor collector. They assess property values. They collect taxes. They mail out your property tax bills. They also do the DMV. Your vehicle registration renewals, your vehicle titles. And then they cover voter registration in the county. So it's a lot that this office does, and that in this office, this particular individual is on the ballot, and we get to elect them. 3 appraisal district seats. The Harris County Appraisal District determines the value of all real and personal property within Harris County. So the people who determine the value of your homes, they are elected. Okay. The board of directors, shall I say, they are elected. 2 county commissioners. Again, you're only going to see one on your ballot. And depending on where you live, you won't see one at all because it's only 2. That's for precinct 1 and precinct 3. So if you live in precinct 2 or precinct 4, you will not see your county commissioner on your ballot. But they govern, they serve on the commissioner's court. It's a total of 5 of them. You have the county judge and 4 commissioners, and they're the governing body of the county. I always tell people, if you think about the city of Houston city council, then you can compare commissioner's court to city of Houston city council. Harris County has commissioner's court. It's not really like going to court and hearing cases. It's actually like handling the county's business. They oversee county safety, county parks, county hospitals, buildings, roads, tollways, and other infrastructure. They serve 4-year terms. 8 justices of the peace. These are judges. Fun fact, they do not have to have a law degree. I know, you're like, what? Yeah, if you want to run for justice of the peace, you can. They don't have to have a law degree. They see Class C misdemeanor criminal cases, minor civil matters. They oversee, they oversee Class C misdemeanor criminal cases, minor civil matters. They issue arrests or warrants. They handle like the traffic tickets, the traffic cases, evictions, debt collections, things like that. It's a small claims court, and 8 of them will be on the ballot. 8 county constables. Again, we have all these law enforcement agencies. The county constables are on the ballot as well. They enforce traffic laws, patrol neighborhoods. They may perform some criminal investigations, things like that. Only 1 constable is elected from each of the 8 precincts, and then they have an office of like all these other constables underneath them, like constable deputies. And they serve 4-year terms. 3 county Department of Education members. I know we have just 1 more after this, or 2 more after this. The Harris County Department of Education. So we talked about HIZ bonds. We talked about the Texas State Board of Education. Now I'm discussing the Harris County Department of Education members, because HCDE, that's their acronym, they oversee the alternative schools and some like special education schools and some Head Start programs. And so they're like the school district for those schools. and they are elected. They serve the chief is they serve like they select the CEO to oversee them or whatnot. But these are three of them are on the ballot. One out of 16 county criminal courts are on the ballot. So it's actually court number 16. It's a county criminal court. They oversee misdemeanors in which the fine exceeds $500. So if you can be fined over $500 for a criminal misdemeanor, then you can be seen in the Harris County Criminal Court. And if the sentence is no more than 1 year in the county jail, then these are the judges who oversee these cases. They also see, like, so how I just talked about the justice of the peace. If they have a case that, like, they can hear a case that came from the JP court. Like if they say, oh, I don't like how this was decided, you can take it up to the Harris County Criminal Court. And then the county probate court. There's one judge on the ballot for this, probate. Do you have a will? Do your people have a will? Because usually what happens, our people don't have a will. Then we got to go to court, go in front of a judge, and figure out how grandma's house is going to be decided or who's going to have mama's house or not. These judges are elected, and there is one county probate judge on the ballot. They establish guardianships, they distribute estates, they decide questions involving trust, and they supervise court-ordered mental health commitments. So that was a lot. I'm actually done. I just walked you through everything that's going to be on the ballot and what these folks have the authority and the power to do. Again, we know it's a lot. Take a breather and, like, do your homework. I know you're like, do homework for elections. Yes, that's actually what's required. You cannot take your phone into the voting booth, but you can take a sheet of paper. You can print out these documents. You can write it on a sheet of paper, and you can take it inside the booth with you. There are sample ballots. If you go to harrisvotes.com, you can literally type in your address and print out your actual sample ballot. And you can vote beforehand. Just go through each one and vote, whichever way you want to vote. And then when you get inside of the voting booth, you can just, like, click, depending on that. We don't really get into candidates. We do advocate for the League of Women Voters voter guide because they interviewed literally every candidate on the ballot for those who actually responded to their interview questions. And so you can take our document of, like, what all the positions are and the League of Women Voters document to see who the candidates are, and then your sample ballot to decide who you're going to vote for. And you can take all those printed papers with you to the booth to vote. So definitely, there is a digital copy of the League of Women Voters Guide. You can go to vote411.org. So that is that. I want you all to make sure you vote. Tap into some of our previous episodes if you kind of have questions about voting on a more broader level. It's so much that's at stake. It's more than the president. Yes, the president is important. At this point, I'm kind of telling people, which some people may not like it. I'm like, look, if you don't want to vote for the president, can you just skip that race on the ballot? Because there's so much other stuff that we need y'all to vote for, and we need y'all to vote all the way down. Like, even when you're tired of clicking through, like, just keep voting because everything is going to matter. And I don't want to hear any complaints next year if you didn't vote. Nah, you can still complain. So that is all we have. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on our website. Meet us in Third Ward on Sunday. Y'all can go to our website to RSVP. We have rented out 20 bikes with Third Ward Bike Tours. So if you want to come vote with us, you can vote with us on Sunday at 4 p.m. and we'll be voting at TSU. All right. Thanks, y'all.